What's good, YouTube? My name is Michael Miller, aka Mike the Math Man if you're following me on Instagram, which probably only like one or two of you do, so I don't even know why I say that anymore. Regardless, I just passed 130,000 miles on the 2004 3rd Gen Acura TL of mine, which is right here. Great car. So it's time to do a 130,000 mile review. So I'm not sure if you guys have watched my previous video about this car, or the previous review, that is. If you haven't, I'll link it above here. But basically in that video, I kind of went through all the details of the interior of the car and the exterior of the car. I'm not going to do that today, but I do want to correct one thing that I said in the other review and mention a couple of other things as well. So let's go inside here. Let's get the correction out of the way. Now, these memory keys for the seats right here. I believe in the first video I said that basically you just press the memory button, fix your seat, you know, how you want it, and then press whatever, you know, whatever one or two key here you want to program that seat position for. That is incorrect, but the correction is that there are two keys that come with the car, and each of those keys is associated with one of the memories over here. So I've got one key. I think this is, you know, this is for like, you know, driver 2 or something like that. So, or driver 1, I forget. Anyways, I've got mine programmed in here, and the other key I have will be programmed right here. Another thing I wanted to mention about the interior of the TL is the cover, the sliding cover that goes over the cup holders right here in the center console. This is perfect size for modern day cell phones. Now this car was made in 2004, so like, you know, cell phones back in 2004 were nearly as big as they are today. I've got the iPhone 6s Plus, and it fits perfectly with a little bit of wiggle room right here. Now, another place I did try in the past was in this little compartment right here, but as you can see, it's kind of a pain in the butt, kind of maneuvering around the shifter right there. So I just keep it right here, and that works pretty good for me. Now, technically, I could get one of those things that holds your cell phone like on the dashboard, maybe like right here. You can read your maps or whatever, see who's calling you. But so far, I've just been good with my cell phone right there. And the last thing I will mention about the interior of the car is same place. I didn't notice this before. It's kind of like, it's not too big of a deal, but I thought it was kind of interesting. The cup holders, this one right here is lifted up this way a little bit more than this one is. So like when you have two cups in here at the same time, there are different heights, so like you're not kind of fumbling around one cup to get to the other one. I thought it was pretty cool on Acura's part. So let's talk about room in the cabin. For the driver, at least, and in the passenger, I'm 6 feet tall. I have plenty of room, plenty of leg room. The seat adjusts just fine. You can go plenty far forward, plenty far back. Now I've got the seat in the all the way back position, so plenty of leg room. I've got maybe a good three or 4 inches above me to move around. Room up here is pretty good. Room in the back seat is a little cramped, but it's not too bad. Like I said, I'm 6 feet tall. I've still got plenty of leg room for a short-term trip. Now, I need to mention this seat in front of me is moved all the way back. I should have moved it up to a more practical depth before filming this, but I didn't. But even still, I can still kind of have my knees resting up against the back of the seat, and it's not uncomfortable. Now, if I move over to the center, the center of the back seat is raised a little bit. Now, if you notice, the room above my head decreases significantly right here, and I'm kind of hitting the top of my hair on the top of the car here. So, something to keep in mind. Now, I've had guests, family and friends back here, and they've all been perfectly comfortable for the times that they've driven in this car back here. All right, guys, so now that we have all of that out of the way, let's give this car a start, and I'll get into the more meat and bones of the review here. So over the last 6 months, I've driven this car about 6,000 miles, about 1,000 miles per month, and it's reminded me just how much I love the Acura TLs. I owned one before this for about 3 years or so, and I ended up selling it before my wife and I moved. It was having some transmission issues. But yeah, having this car just reminded me how much fun they are to drive. I don't have any experience with sports cars, so this is the sportiest car that I've driven. Not that it's a sports car, it's a sports sedan. But what I love about it is it's just so smooth. The acceleration, the braking, just the driving, it's smooth. And the suspension is stiff enough to where you can go around turns very confidently. Now, in the past 6 months of owning this car, I've gotten to know this particular car. And the 2004 Acura TLs, and I think the 2005 Acura TLs as well, are kind of known for their transmission issues, with this being kind of like the first year in the new, like, the first year of the new design. This car kind of made the Acura TL popular. The old one, or the second gen, in my opinion, didn't look very good. I've never driven one, so I can't attest to how they drive. So in terms of maintenance, within the past 6 months, I have gotten an oil change. I have replaced the O2 sensor, and there's a whole video about that. It's kind of an interesting story. I'll link it above if you guys want to watch it. I've replaced the brake fluid. I had the brake serviced, and I've replaced the transmission fluid, and a couple of other minor things, like one of the lights, not the headlight itself, but one of the smaller lights around the headlight went out. I had to get that replaced. It wasn't that much, for like $16. So in total, over the past 6 months, I have spent about $700 in maintenance. So if you guys are familiar with replacing fluids, they're not all that cheap. I think the brake fluid needed to get replaced anyway. The transmission fluid, I wanted to get replaced because the transmission had been slipping a little bit, and I had read and done some research that people were suggesting, and also on the YouTube channel itself, people suggested I get my transmission fluid replaced or exchanged. So I did a full exchange at the service center I go to, and that seems to have solved the problem totally. There are a few videos I made about this, but the transmission, it wasn't too bad to begin with. Like, it would slip occasionally. So fixing the oxygen sensor or replacing the oxygen sensor helped a little bit. And then just this past maintenance trip, replacing the transmission fluid totally solved the issue. No more slipping at all. After this last service was pretty big. It was about $400 worth. I mean, the car drives, it feels brand new. I mean, honestly, like, you would not tell this car has 130,000 miles on it, which is another reason I love these cars. They will just drive forever, and if you keep them maintained well, they will treat you very well. Also, in the past 6 months of ownership, I have driven the TL throughout the North Georgia mountains. I'm not sure if you're one of the few people who actually follow me on Instagram. You'll see a lot of photos of the North Georgia mountains, and a few from Tennessee. A few from South Carolina, maybe a few from Tennessee as well. But I have driven hundreds of miles around Georgia. I'm making a 4-hour trip to Tennessee right now, and about 5 days from now I'll be making a 4-hour trip down to Savannah, Georgia. And I'm not worried at all about any further maintenance that might need to be done. The TLs are super reliable. But other than the transmission, this car has been pretty problem-free. I mean, the transmission is the largest issue the car has given me, and even that is not. It's not bad either. It's just very minor issue, shifting between second and third gear. Other than that, over the past 6,000 miles or so, I've averaged about 25 miles per gallon. Over the past few hundred miles, the MPG rating has gone up and down between 24 and 25. So I'm going to say an even 25 throughout the board, and that's a pretty decent mix of both city and highway driving. I think the best miles per gallon I've gotten in this car was like 32, and that was pretty much just going like 65 miles an hour straight down the highway for a couple hours. So I did 2 videos before. There is 5 things I love about this car and 5 things that could be improved about it. So let's quickly go over some things I love. I love, like I said before, just the smooth drivability, the acceleration, the confidence through turns, the braking. Everything about driving the car is awesome. I love it. The seats are super comfortable. We've got dual climate controls, which is great if like if you got a passenger in the car. I tend to stay kind of warm, so I like air conditioning on most of the time, even sometimes during the winter. And my wife gets cold a lot, so she might turn the heat up on her side. So it's nice having that option to do both. The car is very spacious, plenty of room for yourself and some guests, family, friends, whatever. Even in the back seat, plenty of room in the back. The car looks good, even being 13, 14 years old. It looks great. I mean, it doesn't look like brand new. It has some age to it, but it doesn't necessarily look like a 14-year-old car. Acura, in my opinion, Acura did a great job designing this. Even with the interior doesn't look all that dated either. Some of the cons about the 3rd gen Acura TL, let's get the most obvious one out of the way first, is the transmission. The earlier year 3rd gen models, the 2004, 2005, are known for having transmission issues. A lot of that, in my opinion, can be fixed by changing the transmission fluid, maybe getting some of the pressure plates changed out, keeping the car in pretty good shape maintenance-wise. That is the biggest con, in my opinion. Everything else is just everything else I'm going to say is just going to be a matter of opinion. Around 55, 60 miles an hour or so, it gets a little noisy in the cabin here. So if you're in the market for a mid-size sedan or a sports sedan like the Acura TL, that's something to keep in mind. Below 55 or so, it's pretty good. It's pretty quiet. The radio, we've got 6 presets for the radio on the dashboard here. I would like more, but that's just me. Some people might be fine with 6. I like kind of presetting every single radio station available, just to kind of go back and forth between. And I know I could there are 2 FM modes I could change back and forth between. They each have 6. That's kind of, I don't know, that just adds more complication to things. I like it all nice and neat, laid out at once, laid out everything together. I can just have all my radio presets in one place. And I really can't think of anything else that I particularly dislike about it. It's a great car. It's super fun to drive. I love it. If I ever sell this, which I probably will sometime in the future, I'm looking at getting probably a 2008 TL Type S. Either that or maybe a newer TLX or something like that. I've never driven the TLX. I'd like to take that on a test drive. They look pretty nice though. So yeah, overall, tons of pros for the 3rd gen Acura TL. Very few cons. You get a ton of value for a 13 or 14-year-old car. You could buy these right now for probably you could probably buy a decent one for $5,000 or $6,000, and you get a ton of value for that price. And with that being said, guys, this is going to be it for this video. I really appreciate you watching. Thank you for tuning in. If this is your first time on the channel, please feel free to browse around, check through my other videos. I got a lot more videos about this car in there, so a few tech videos as well. But if you like the video, give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Yeah.